Picture this: a throne, carved of black walnut and inlaid with gold, that no one dares to sit upon. In the shadows behind it stands a man not regal, but ravenous. His name is Ferdinand VII, and history remembers him as a king, but in truth, he was a collector, not of art, not of war spoils, but of humiliation. He was born into royalty like rot into fruit, inevitable, slow, and hidden until the skin splits. Spain was bleeding by the time he came to power, betrayed by Napoleon, betrayed by his own blood. But Ferdinand betrayed backwards. He made treachery his crown. They called him El Decido, the desired one, when he returned to power in 1813. Weary from French occupation, thought salvation had come. Instead, they received a man whose appetites drowned reason. A man who spoke in whispers, but ruled in punishments. And then there were the women. Ferdinand had wives, yes. He had 4 wives, each younger than the last. The third, Maria Josepha Amalia of Saxony, was 15 when they married. It's said she wept through the wedding. She had been raised in a convent and knew nothing of men, nothing of kings. On their wedding night, Ferdinand reportedly stripped before her and shouted, "This is how men are." She fainted. He summoned physicians, but not to heal, to instruct. They were ordered to explain, in front of him, the duties of a wife. One letter, attributed though never confirmed to a court midwife, reads, "He treated her terror as foreplay. Her innocence fed him more than her beauty ever could." But Maria was lucky, in a way. She died, young, childless, unbroken. Ferdinand remarried a 4th time, to Maria Cristina of the two. She was 19, he was 45. She bore him 2 daughters, one of whom, Isabella II, would inherit a kingdom soaked in the scent of her father's shame. In private, Ferdinand indulged in grotesque fantasies. He made ministers dress as monks and beg for forgiveness in falsetto. He commissioned paintings never shown publicly of himself as a divine figure nursing from the breasts of queens. In the palace cellars, it is said there were rooms no servant entered twice. Velvet ropes, mirrors, and dolls. Wax figures posed mid-gesture, mouths agape, as if forever screaming. No records of their creation exist, only silence and a scent of almond oil and old sweat. He was not a madman, not in a way history prefers its monsters. He signed treaties, he reviewed troops, he could smile. But his joy came not from ruling, but from watching things unravel, slowly, sweetly, until they begged for ruin. Spain's golden age was long gone, but Ferdinand polished its coffin, and he did so with trembling, manic hands. Ferdinand's court was a theater of control. Every gesture was rehearsed, every servant trained to appear both invisible and afraid. His paranoia was a quiet disease, spreading from room to room like smoke. He forbade certain words: a republic, reason, mercy. To utter them was treason, to think them, worse. They say his bedroom was cold, even in summer. He insisted on candlelight only, never oil lamps. Shadows should dance. He once reportedly told a maid who spilled wax on his sheets, "It makes the night more honest." He was too many, a joke in velvet, but behind the laughter was something darker. A man terrified not of death, but of impotence, of disappearing into the void of history, unremembered. He feared his daughters would outshine him, especially Isabella. At 7, she was made to parade in miniature gowns, modeled after her mother's. At 9, she was forced to watch her father issue death sentences from the throne. By 12, she understood the difference between justice and performance. She never smiled when ordered to. She smiled only when he turned away. Maria Cristina, her mother, played the part of wife with expert detachment. She gave Ferdinand what he wanted: obedience, heirs, and silence. But behind closed doors, she kept records, letters, physician reports, even sketches of bruises in her daughter's diary. She hid them in hollowed books beneath the chapel altar. Ferdinand knew. He always knew. But he let her believe she was clever. That was his final cruelty, to watch those around him squirm with the illusion of power. One night, near the end, his body began to fail him. The indulgences, the decay, it caught him like a lover. His skin blistered. His teeth fell out. He demanded hourly baths in goat's milk, claiming it was the only thing that soothed the burning. Maria Cristina wept, but not for him, for the kingdom. On his deathbed, he summoned Isabella. He pressed a ring into her hand, a gold serpent biting its own tail. "Ruled as I did," he croaked, "or better make them bleed smiling." Isabella said nothing. She only nodded. She never wore the ring. After he died, Maria Cristina burned the secret rooms, the velvet, the wax dolls, but, some say, not all the paintings were destroyed, that, in a private collection, somewhere outside Madrid, hangs a portrait of Ferdinand, not crowned, not seated, but kneeling in rapture, arms outstretched, as if begging a ghost to return. Spain tried to forget him. Monuments rose for others. Streets were renamed, books revised. But Ferdinand VII did not vanish. He lingered in whispers at boarding schools, behind palace walls, in the dreams of children whose parents never told them the real stories. His daughter Isabella became queen at 13, and she ruled with the stiffness of someone who had learned that power and love could not coexist. Her court was cleaner, colder, but shadows do not vanish when curtains are drawn tighter. It is said that, in the first year of her reign, she awoke screaming 5 nights in a row. When her attendants entered, they found her staring at the floor, mumbling about serpents and glass-eyed saints. One night, a servant found her burning the last of her father's letters. She didn't cry, she didn't speak. She simply watched the flame eat his handwriting line by line, until only the signature remained. And Ferdinand had once written, "Kings are not remembered for mercy. They are remembered for the shape of their shadow." His shadow was long. Even today, historians debate what was real: the secret rooms, the whispering dolls, the ring. Some deny it all, citing a lack of primary evidence. But absence, in Spain's history, is not proof of innocence. It is the mark of those who ruled so obscenely. Their sins were burned instead of buried. A recently resurfaced letter of questionable origin reads, "He ruled not to serve, but to consume. He made suffering his ritual, silence his gospel, and in the end, he became less man than echo." There are no statues of Ferdinand VII in the center of Madrid, but if you walk the palace halls at dusk, the marble seems to remember him, cold, moist with secrets, waning. And sometimes, when no one is looking, the floorboards creak just once, as if something still lingers beneath. Not footsteps, just pressure, like the memory of a man who demanded to be felt long after he was forgotten.